Greetings and salutations, fellow survivors. It is I, Eric J. Chuckie, joined as always by the boy.
Hey.
This is the Two Nerds Podcast.
Coming to you live from the post-apocalypse, we are looking at 2020 in review.
And it's, you know what, by the time y'all hear this, it'll be 2021.
So, we're recording it right before the end of 2020. If something ridiculously amazing happens in the next week, we'll tell you when we get to recording during actual 2021. But we sat down here as the year comes to a close, as we do most years, to sort of cover our favorite things that we did this year. Not stuff that came out this year, because neither of us are people on the bleeding edge of pop culture. Fuck that.
Ironically, a lot of the stuff that I did enjoy did come out this year, but...
That's a coincidence. That is not going to be something you can rely upon.
Yeah, and that's the same way this always goes. We were going to open the podcast with a discussion about 2020, but I would like to save it for a later category where I think it becomes relevant.
Okay, all right.
So let's just roll into the things we did in 2020 that were our favorite things, or the best things, or most interesting things.
Our year.
You guys were here with us, but we also didn't share everything with you. In fact, we didn't have to make up as many grab bag random ass podcasts as we usually do.
Yeah, to why?
But at the end of the day, we are gamers.
So first things first, White, what was your favorite video game this year?
Indisputably, it was Animal Crossing New Horizons.
You have played it nearly every day since it came out. And
the days that I somehow missed, which are single digit, I went back and played through. So,
yeah.
It's Animal Crossing. I'm an adult enough now that I can stick with it. And it's a very good Animal Crossing. They did a really smart thing where, and a lot of people would disagree with me because they want to have finished Animal Crossing within the first month. I don't fucking get it, but whatever. Where they have been slowly releasing the content throughout the year.
Like, from their side, so that you can't just, like, alright, I did all the stuff today, set it to tomorrow. Alright, I did all the stuff tomorrow, set it the next day. And just burn through the game in half a month.
And you can time travel. They've taken away a lot of the problems that would cause. You still can't fuck with the stock market. And you can't experience holidays. Well, you couldn't. So, like, say, when I started playing in March, I couldn't fast forward to October and play Halloween because that content wasn't in the game yet.
And, I mean, who's to say they won't keep updating shit?
They've got stuff planned through February, and the last Animal Crossing game received support quite a while after it was done. And looking at the stuff they did with Mario Maker 2 and Smash, I don't see why Nintendo wouldn't keep adding shit.
No, I mean, if it makes them, the monies.
I do have an honorable mention of Phasmophobia. It is a simple game. When I think about it, in my brain, as a designer, and I strip away all of the accoutrements, including the jump scares, of which there are ultimately pretty few. They're very natural jump scares, not like Five Nights at Freddy's. It's such a stupidly simple matching game. And yet, in the short time it's been out, it has been one of my favorite games this year.
It's one of those games for me that's very, very fun with my friends.
I agree.
And I would despise playing it with strangers.
Oh gosh, no, I don't play with strangers. I don't play most games with strangers.
But like, so I also loved it. It's not on my honorable mentions list because for me, a game needs to be something to get to something that's like my favorite of the year. It needs to be something that I can enjoy without my friends there, because if my friends are there, I will enjoy a shitty game. So that's not a fair metric.
That's absolutely fair. So what was your favorite game?
I couldn't decide because one has issues as a game, even if I love the story. And the other, same, but also it's too new for me to fairly judge it. It just came out. So I picked two. It's a little cheaty. I'm going to say that probably the first one is my favorite game of 2020. But the second one might end up in retrospect being that. is because it's too new for me to fairly judge.
Might end up being your favorite game of 2021.
I mean, if the patches come out on time, it almost certainly will be. But the game that I have slotted first, so the one we'll call the official answer, is Red Dead Redemption 2. It has issues as a game. They don't bother me as much as they bother some people. For a great summary of all of the issues with the game that I don't even disagree with, Nakey Jakey has a video on Red Dead Redemption 2 called Rockstar's Game Design is Outdated, I believe. I basically just agree with everything he said in it. The issue is that most of the problems he points out don't bother me. And it is one of the best written video games in history. It is a story that I find genuinely, life-affirming and inspirational and, to a certain extent, heartbreaking. It is an incredibly well-written, well-crafted story, and Arthur Morgan may be one of the best acted and drawn characters. I don't mean physically animated. You know what I mean. In video game history. And for that, it's my favorite game of the year. Cyberpunk 2077 might end up being, in retrospect, a game that I like as much, because it's also an incredibly good story. But it's too new. I've had a lot more time, because I played Red Dead in January after I quit my job at the time, at the end of last year, and had some real fucking life-changing mental, shifts in how I saw life.
It is bizarre that was just,
January. Yeah.
It feels like eons ago.
Because of 2020 being what it was.
Yep.
But
It's still March,
back
I'm
in
pretty
January,
sure.
I went through some shit. And coming out of that, I played Red Dead Redemption 2. And maybe when I played it is a big part of that. But for me, Cyberpunk is also incredibly well written. It is a much more harsh story. So ultimately, people who've played Red Dead Redemption 2 are like, really? Yes.
My brain just went, oh no!
So, I don't
I'm
know.
in danger!
I don't know if it'll ever reach those heights for me. But it's got some gameplay issues. It's super new, and it didn't ship in the best condition. Although, to be fair, I'm not having nearly as much of a problem with it as some people are. I feel, you have my sympathies, but I'm good. I'm having a fun time.
I mean, we're playing on an Xbox One, so it looks like it came out before the Cry engine was a thing.
But I'm not that
But,
guy, so
I mean,
I don't care.
I've spent a lot of time playing Final Fantasy VI this year, so...
So, I think that wraps up video games, yeah?
Yeah. Why don't you talk about your favorite movie this year?
Okay, I'm going to be pretty short because we're going to talk about this more thoroughly later. I don't watch a lot of movies anymore. So, almost all the movies I watched this year, literally almost all of them, were part of a big rewatch of all the Marvel movies that we're in the middle of. So my favorite movie this year is probably Age of Ultron. Winter Soldier has long been my favorite of the MCU movies. I don't know, man. Sexy Robot Man just hit different this time. It was just a really well-made movie.
I was so afraid. And I'm not going to talk too much about it because we will talk about it on a later podcast. I was so afraid I wasn't going to like the movie as much.
But no, I liked it more.
Nope, still fan-fucking-tastic.
It just hit different. And so it's my favorite movie. Honorable mention still goes to Winter Soldier. I still think it's probably the best made MCU movie. But Age of Ultron was just more fun.
My favorite movie is one I saw twice in theaters, and that was Birds of Prey.
Wish I could like that movie.
I respect that you can't.
Yep, cannot. Never gonna. They butchered Cassandra Cain, and I'd love to be able to forgive them, but I can't.
You will die mad about it.
I'm going to. I'm upset about it.
That's fine.
I'm upset that I'm going to die mad about it, but I will in fact die mad about it.
I'm upset for you because this was great.
Yeah, buddy, I can tell it's great. You went and voluntarily saw it twice in theaters. Do you have any idea what a high fucking kind of praise that is coming from you? That's absurd.
I would have seen it a third time, but then the pandemic happened.
Yes, I know. If I was able to separate from one of my favorite characters in Batman being so thoroughly in name only, I think I'd love the movie. Just from what you've described and what little I've seen in clips and stuff. But I'm just never gonna be fucking able to. I just can't. I tried.
If they had named her Stephanie Brown.
Perfect.
because it's even a similar enough origin that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure. Stephanie Brown is like a pickpocket. Yeah, right, sure.
She can still be Dante Bosco's sister or whatever.
I mean, like to be fair, it's also because I like Stephanie Brown less than Cassandra King.
I love Stephanie Brown, and I would be okay with this. But that's just not that character.
No, it's not the same person, and I'd love to not die mad about it, but that's just not going to happen.
But visually, acting, storytelling, humor, cool interpretations of most of the characters. I mean, it's not the best movie I've ever seen, but I really liked it. Let's move on to favorite TB. Favorite Total Biscuit and or web show.
Still Total Biscuit.
Total Biscuit.
Pepperonis, John.
Total Biscuit's my favorite Total Biscuit. Always will be.
But favorite TV and or web show.
Yeah.
Mine's The Mandalorian. Same as it was last year. It's still the best thing going in serialized fiction. Season 2 this year, and boy howdy do I love it. We just did a whole podcast on it, so I'm not going to jabber too much.
Yeah, I would suggest that as an honorable mention. Also, one that I can't believe I forgot to mention is I've been watching Supernatural, and I've been enjoying it.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's my favorite show or anything, but I'm really inspired by a lot of the characters and the monsters and stuff.
Caught a couple episodes while you had it on, and it's not a bad show.
No. It's one of those things that, like, is popular, so people shit on it. People like me. And
I'm me.
Well, and I watched the first season and I didn't care for it because I had different expectations. I wasn't there to watch the Winchester brothers fight monsters and save the day. I was there to watch what's the actor's name?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Yes.
Oh, he's not in that.
Like twice.
He's not in that show. But
those are my honorable mentions. What I actually really enjoyed watching this year were the YouTube channels Defunct Land and he calls himself this, so I will use it, SNES Drunk. Few things make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up like calling it the SNES.
Well, it's not called the SNES. He's called SNES Drunk. That's different.
But plenty of people do call it that. It makes me go, what the... No. Like...
It's the SNES.
Yeah, and I mean, okay...
It
would be one thing if the acronym were something pleasant.
I suppose it's one syllable versus 4, so it is a fair shortening.
No, sure, I respect that. Or Super Nintendo. You know, that's still a lot of syllables. But it doesn't... The acronym is gross. It sounds like a sneeze. Not even a sneeze. It doesn't have the vigor behind it to be a sneeze. It's SNES.
So he's SNES drunk.
His videos are so short. I actually found him through one of his chill music compilation videos that I put on one night to go to sleep to. But I love his little reviews and updates on 16-bit era gaming. Defunct Land.
I have gotten in, not so much into Defunct Land, for whatever reason it never grabbed me, but Defunct TV, however, has been something that I have really enjoyed because it covers... Usually he's covering stuff that's either usually a little before or like way before or a little after my childhood. There's like a dead zone in the middle there. Mm-hmm. But when I was fairly young, I spent a lot of time taking care of a family member of mine. I'm not going to get too much into detail, but like I helped raise a kid, like a baby, when I was like a tween. And so I fucking have really hard nostalgia for like Between the Lions and Bear in the Big Blue House and all these shows that I connect to a ultimately really fond set of memories. So it was really fun watching those.
Yeah. His retrospective on Jim Henson is extraordinary. I highly recommend the documentary movie about Halix, the forgotten Disneyland band. Just fascinating both in the music industry sense and in what Disney was at the time and what they were trying to accomplish. If you're looking for nostalgia that's a bit more... The reason he covers, I should say, the reason I assume he covers around that gap is because there's another channel that I do also watch called... where's my brain? I can't remember off the top of my head. It'll come to me.
Because I am interested in what you're about to say.
It covers Nickelodeon stuff. In fact, aside from everything else on the channel, the guy's mission statement is to cover every Nickelodeon show in order.
Ooh.
Oh, and he's gotten pretty far, too.
Ooh. That might be on my 2021 list right
Well, and there's a reason he's not on my favorites, is because he gets very politically charged.
That's not the vibe of the Two Nerds podcast.
It's not the vibe of the Two Nerds podcast. And while I sometimes very much agree with him, that's not what I'm here to watch.
Look, man, I got opinions, but they don't belong on this show.
Pretty much. I'm here to learn about Nickelodeon history. And, obviously a lot of that comes with politics. Look, a lot of the stuff on Defunctland is very political, but it comes from a place more largely of documentary than passion.
The fucking episode on Dragon Tales hit me with such a powerful nostalgia bomb that I was rocked back in my chair.
My little sister, when she was young, loved Gullah Gullah Island. I hated that fucking show. Since I have watched the documentary on it, I have so much respect for what they accomplished.
You know what? The one that had real me when I was actually a little kid nostalgia was fucking Zoboomafoo.
Yeah, that was a good one. I did not have that nostalgia, but that was a good episode.
But anyway,
Pop Arena is the name of the Nickelodeon channel. If you can get past those politically charged moments,
or if you agree with them, that usually helps.
Or Jesus, if you agree with them, sometimes I even agree with the guy, and I'm like, shut the fuck up.
That's my problem. You know what? Actually, thinking of it, that's right. Again, I'm not gonna don't want to get too far into politics, but oftentimes I find people I agree with. It's much harder for me to tolerate them trying to make a political point than people I disagree with, because my brain goes, yes, I know. Will you please move on?
Yeah. It's the difference between providing an assessment of a situation with a bias. I'm sure you can't. Defunctland clearly leans in a direction.
We have biases. Look, if we don't get too much into politics, but if you've listened to the New Tourist podcast for long enough, our politics are not hard to discern.
No. And Pop Arena's in the same zone, just more of an activist role. And I don't see a lot of sense in being a political activist about TV that aired 40 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's
whose mind are you
cringe.
Yeah. But anyway, honorable mention to Mandalorian. I had some struggles in watching it.
But come on.
But fucking come
on. So I think it's time to move right along.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
To the next one we have listed, because spoiler alert, we're working off a set of notes. Is favorite RPG character you played? Who was your favorite RPG character this year?
My favorite RPG character this year was me finally getting to play a druid the way I wanted to play a druid.
By never wild shaping.
Yup. I have a hard time understanding why that's something I would want to do.
We've run that into the ground on various D&D podcasts. I think we can move along.
You can go back to the Druid podcast to hear my explanation. But I played a Circle of Stars Druid, and that's not a thing you have to do. You have different buffs.
You have a different thing that you can do instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I played accidentally a rabbit.
Yeah.
I didn't choose the race, we'll put it that way.
We had already... So what I usually do as a DM, I was DMing this campaign, and for context, you probably need to understand this. What I do as a DM is I let my player characters pick their characters, and then I build a world around them for the most part that makes sense and provides interesting hooks. And I find it more organic at this point in my life as a DM to build around my player characters so that everyone's character naturally fits.
I agree with you. I just need to learn how to do that.
So, everyone else happened to pick animal races. All the other players in this campaign, there were 5 players in this campaign. White was the last one to pick, so he was like, well, I'm not going to not go for the theme, but there's no other animal races that work. So we just made up a homebrew rabbit race that exists that basically uses, what would it end up using? Just some other race's stats.
We found some stuff online.
Originally, this was before Tasha's, so we just sort of cobbled it together. Which turns out, with Tasha's out, is actually the rule. So we did a good job.
It was actually a different character originally. I was just running off ASMR.
Yeah. You were running off the ASMR, but we just made it a rabbit person because shut the fuck up. You wanted to be an animal person. You didn't want to break the cool theme.
Right.
So when he ended up, that character ended up not working. He ended up not liking it. So he brought in a new one, and we had one race of all the principal races of this little setting, except for a rabbit, so he gets to play a rabbit.
But Elwood was sweet, earnest garbage druid.
Great. It's just a very fun character to DM.
I used Move Earth to sculpt out Minecraft houses when it was time to rest.
You know the first night one, the little dirt sack? Yeah, that one.
Mostly healed people, and sometimes animal friends would show up to help. I had nothing to do with this.
Yeah. Oh man, look, a worm showed up. Oh, these are undead. He's probably hungry. These are his natural prey. Well, I wasn't involved at all. I've just been over here chilling. Elwood is amazing.
Elwood is amazing. I look forward to playing Elwood again in the future.
Which, definitely possible.
Yeah.
We left the door open on the end of that campaign.
Yeah.
My favorite character was a character named Condor, who I played in a otherwise a bad system. I'm not going to go too far into why the system is bad. It was a bad system, but I really enjoyed the character. Me and White were both playing in this campaign, and we played brothers. And I played Jason Voorhees in a bird mask with a brother that he cared for very deeply. I played him. The parts of Condor's character that are deeper than that isn't something I'm going to be explaining online.
I played. What's the fastest
way? A
way?
human trash fire named Carrion.
Yeah. Which I liked Carrion as a character, but I hated Carrion's mechanics so much that I couldn't, in good conscience, put him on this list.
No, because you didn't have fun playing him mechanically. I had fun playing Condor mechanically because he was broken, and he was broken because the system was bad.
Let me rephrase. I think yours was good. What if a shitpost had legs?
Oh, you know what? That's better. And we made Mecha Shiva at one point, and it was amazing.
Yes. I fed you beans.
Yep. We're going to play those dudes again.
Those boys will get used. Okay, so now we're at that category I was talking about. This is the category we originally called the Surprise of the Year. Usually had to do with wrestling. We redubbed it with a secondary title, the I Was Wrong Award, because we often use it when hubris befalls us. For example, last year, for you, it was Attack of the Clones, was actually a good movie. For me, it was Return of the Jedi, was actually not as good as I remember it.
So this year...
I mean, there's so much to pick from, but it's all either political, which we don't talk about on the podcast,
or incredibly depressing,
which we try not to talk about on the podcast unless it has something to do with Batman.
Because, I think there is an indisputable winner for Surprise of the Year, but that's not our vibe. There are millions of other places you can go to hear all about this fucking awful situation we're all in. We talk about fun shit on the Two Nerds podcast.
Yeah, theoretically.
Theoretically.
My surprises this year still weren't very good. But let's lead with something good. You had a pretty good surprise this year. You had the I Was Wrong Award.
I got to award the I Was Wrong Award. For years. Basically since it came out in 2016. And launched a wave, a tsunami fit to destroy an entire seaboard of imitators. I have wanted to enjoy Critical Role. I say that in a specific way because I couldn't. I would listen to about 20 minutes of Critical Role, cringe inside out, and turn it off and delete it from whatever podcast feed or YouTube save playlist or whatever I had it on. I couldn't. I physically could not enjoy other people playing Dungeons and Dragons. As much as I love that game, I did a whole year of podcasts on that game. A year and change. And that's beyond all of the other podcasts we've done about RPGs. It's my favorite hobby. And it's not close. I love tabletop role-playing. And I love D&D as like the version of tabletop role playing. I physically could not enjoy other people play D&D. It's a physiological cringe reaction that I couldn't stop. It just made me, I had to leave whatever room it was on in, as it were. In 2020, I was strong enough. I sat down, I managed to figure out, I had kind of an epiphany as to what the problem was, why it was causing me to do that. It was a problem with me, not with the material. And I sat down and I wasn't a bitch about it, and I just got through that initial psychological hurdle. And it's a good show. It's a real good show. It's not ultimately for me, because after the first initial one I listened to the whole, like, the first storyline that happens when they, right after...
The Briarwoods.
Yeah, the Briarwood storyline. That's where I started, and I basically listened to the very climax of the whole Briarwood arc. Beyond that, as much as I love these, voice actors and think they're very fun and very cool people to watch, and they are clearly having a wonderful time, they're a little too indecisive for me. So it becomes the fucking get on with it! Too much of an extent for me to keep watching. It's ultimately not for me. But I get to give it the I was wrong award, because the bit I enjoyed was so good. And I was a dumb motherfucker, and it was stupid bullshit stopping me from enjoying it this whole time, and I got over it, so I get to give it an award, and I'm very happy about it.
Mine is a little harder to give out. I have written down here, I'm surprised by AEW. It's still going. It's doing really well. Last week, as of recording, they beat Raw in the ratings in the 18 to 49 demo.
Oh, the Prime demo.
The Prime demo. And they're not even on the same fucking night. Like...
No, that's good. Good. Vince McMahon is shit. Burn his house down.
Literally and figuratively. So I'm glad. I'm really glad for AEW. I have a hard time watching it because wrestling burned me so hard this year.
Same.
And you and I got in the habit of only watching pay-per-views. So, like, getting in the habit of watching the weekly show, even though we have access to it, is just hard.
It's not how we consume wrestling. Hasn't been in years.
Yeah, we used to watch the weekly shows, but... And AEW is even, a reasonable length and has good old JR and Tony Schiavone on it.
Oh, it's a great show, but as I heard once explained, if you like pro wrestling, there is so much pro wrestling. Even if it's just AEW, that's 2 hours a week.
We don't watch TV like we used to.
So it's hard to do, and as much as it is a great show, excellent show, nothing but praise.
And I think another part of it is we have it on demand. It's the world we're living in. You don't have to watch it right now. You can watch it whenever, and whenever can be put off indefinitely.
Whenever can be never.
Another surprise is that the Sonic movie was decent.
That was a surprise. I wasn't like that surprised about it, but like...
these are the straws I'm reaching for in terms of positives.
Okay, fair enough.
A surprise was how amazingly, catastrophically, burning up on re-entry this entire cyberpunk thing has gone. When the core of the game is, by most reports, fine to great. The lawsuits and the reaction, and especially because why this game of all games when EA exists, it's just, what a dumpster fire to look at from 10 feet away. I played about 5 hours of the game. I love it. I started playing that game and went, oh god, I could love this game. But just different shit has kept me from playing it. I've been into other stuff. We'll get into that momentarily. So that's kind of interesting. But again, it's kind of drawing at straws. It's kind of, recent. The biggest surprise I had was negative. What the fuck is Red Dead Redemption 2?
And for more on that, please watch Nakey Jakey's Rockstar's game design is outdated, because you could verbatim repeat it for the listener, because you guys have the same opinion.
Yeah, you laughed about that a lot while I was playing it, pointing at the screen like so much fucking Leonardo DiCaprio and going, what the fuck is this?
And then you would say a thing and you would elucidate on what you were upset about, and I would go, ah, yes, Naked Jacob said that. Except for no, that's a different YouTuber.
Yeah, I loved the story.
Because because it is one of the best written stories in video games.
Some of those characters are so phenomenal, I will carry them with me for the rest of my life. The non-scripted sections of that game, and I mean like the non-main
open
quest.
world.
Not even just the open world, but like the bounties and stuff. Those are
side quests too.
Yeah,
okay,
the side quests are good too. Great, fantastic game design. Not as good as Watch Dogs 2, but still really
Watch
good.
Watch Dogs 2 is still the best Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. But
that's still not close.
Holy shit, those main quests.
Every time the game tries to be Uncharted 2, it fails. Because it's not dedicated.
But yeah, watch Nikki Jakey's video. That will encapsulate my emotions about this in a reasonable sense, instead of a ranting man pulling at his own hair and going, I just...
I mean, there is some of that in that video, but it's more that, like, this guy already did the labor, why repeat it?
Sure. Also, this podcast doesn't need to be an hour and about Red Dead. So let's move swiftly along to favorite activity / thing you did the most this year.
I feel so boring. Let's do yours first, because mine's boring.
Okay, so if we're adhering to the thing you did the most this year, it was Animal Crossing. I mean, I don't know how many hours I've logged into that game. A lot. At minimum, I put like an hour and a half, 2 hours into that game every day.
Yeah, so...
Minimum. But like, I don't know if that was my favorite thing I did this year. Ironically, the stuff I've really loved has been recent. Playing Phasmophobia, as I said before, I always have a good time. I've never had a bad time playing Phasmophobia, even when I went in solo with my headphones off so that I wouldn't get scared to bring my money back up after having died and lost all my shit. I had fun. I have fun watching people play it so long as they're not idiots about it. The other thing I've enjoyed that I started doing recently is streaming. I've been streaming on Twitch. I will probably continue to stream on Twitch. I like talking to people while I play video games, and I like playing video games for a reason. Forcing myself a little bit to play all these games that I want to play. It's been fun. So, twitch.tv/WhiteRaven. There I am. You can come by and look at my possumy avatar. Because y'all don't need to see my fucking face.
You have, at minimum, put in 532 hours into Animal Crossing.
At minimum.
1.5, lowballing it, per day for 355 days. I guess it didn't come out on January.
No,
so.
it didn't. But that seems about right. So, yeah.
I wanted to know, so I went and did the math.
I appreciate that. I could go get my Switch and actually check, but I don't.
Mine's super boring. It's the same answer it was last year, YouTube.
And the year before that.
Yep, I just watch a lot of YouTube, guys. It's all different shit than it was this time last year, if that means anything.
Yeah, well, why don't you share a couple of the things you don't mind sharing?
Okay. I've been watching a lot. I've been getting more into different personalities this year, different like YouTubers. I watch, as always, a lot of various versions of, as you love to say, libertarian, how it's made.
Yes.
Of people making things from nothing. Less of that this year, actually. I kind of fallen out of favor of that, and I've been watching more gaming channels. This year, the biggest new personality, or new to me, he's not new to the internet, certainly, that I got into is Moist Critical, Charlie.
Yeah.
I started watching his videos early this year, and have gotten a lot more into him since. Disguised Toast, also. Basically, it's an extension of already liking Michael Reeves. And, like... Mostly just this year, for obvious reasons, I've been mostly watching just sort of comfy YouTube. Just people having a good time, nothing real stressful, nothing real important. I've avoided the news. I just watch the simple stuff that makes me smile and laugh. The other show I watch a lot of is How to Drink.
Yeah.
Now, I know, given that it's 2020... you might be concerned at hearing that. I don't actually drink alcohol, but once, maybe twice a year. I just find Greg, the host, to be incredibly charming, and he is so clearly in love with this hobby that I enjoy watching him partake in it, even if I don't get it.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, it's a cooking show.
Yeah, and I like cooking shows.
You like watching people put shit together.
Yeah.
I have also been watching a lot of YouTube. I always do. It's but my primary source of entertainment. I watch a lot of wrestling news, even though I'm not watching wrestling because I care about the sport, but quote unquote the form of entertainment. I watch a lot of gaming channels because I like video games, and I watch a lot of documentary stuff because I think things are interesting. I'd love to learn more about them.
Recently, I've been slowly, as sleep fuel, making my way through a 4-hour documentary on the history of the English language. And the parts of it I remember from not being asleep are real interesting.
Sounds fascinating.
It's not going on my movies list because I've missed most of it due to being asleep.
So let's move to Anthem of the Year, my friend.
Yeah, okay. Mine is something that I actually got into, because it's a couple years old at this point. I got into it basically when it came out, because I was already watching that channel. But it has been the song I've listened to the most this year, and not by a small margin. It's a YouTube channel called Melodica Bros. They do alternate genre covers of songs. They do other original music too, but that's what they got famous for. They have a cyberpunk style cover of Country Roads that they put out about the time Fallout 76 came out. And it's my favorite version of that song by a huge margin. And I wasn't hype for Cyberpunk, but I was sort of looking forward to that game. And we live in a cyberpunk dystopia. So I've been just sort of vibing out to that kind of music generally this year, and it's probably one of my favorite songs in the genre. Because it's accidentally a very deep song. Taking that song and putting it through that filter has a lot of like implications for the universe that in which the song would exist that I really love. And I've just listened to it a lot because I also find it really enjoyable to listen to.
I find that a lot more interesting than just what if we pitched this down or put this in a different key, and that
Which
can
I
be
also listen to.
Yeah, that can be interesting, but I do like exploring it more. You know, this is a country song now, not this, but like for example, what does that change about the song?
And you know, Country Roads being a cyberpunk song, I heard I think it's in the YouTube comments or some forum I was on. It's like the song feels like it was written in the universe where it is a song from like a cyberpunk universe, like it was written as like a legend by someone who's never been outside of, you know, the equivalent of Night City, to go to West Virginia where the trees are green and hope exists.
Yeah,
and it feels very forlorn as a cover, whereas the the regular song is actually super happy.
well, yeah, because you're going home to West Virginia.
Yeah. And this feels very forlorn and hopeful, but like distantly so, in a way that you're pretty sure that hope is going to get dashed. It is more than just dubstep. It actually embraces a lot of the thematics that make cyberpunk a specific thing. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know that those guys did that intentionally, but it does work.
I'm going to start with my honorable mentions, which were Doja Cat's Boss Bitch, which I almost forgot to put on this list because it's been so long since the Birds of Prey movie came out, and I played that song on repeat for like, I don't know, a month. It's just a really good, really amped song. Great beats and rhythms, not overcomplicated lyrics, but man, I just want to listen to these sounds, you know?
Yeah.
I made myself laugh. The other one was maybe Ninja Sex Party Starlight Brigade.
That one would be in my honorable mentions if I had thought to list it.
Yeah.
Because I have also listened to that a lot this year.
Just the video really inspired me creatively on something that I, at this point, is on the shelf and I may stay there. But it brought back an aesthetic that I feel like has been lost in popular culture, even amid our renewed love for the 1980s.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
But the actual one is another, a Torp song featuring Ninja Sex Party, The Hit. It started as a joke because the pixel art lady in the video bears a resemblance to my girlfriend. So I would play it every now and then and point at her and go, girl, like they do in the song. But god damn if it isn't just a really fun, catchy song.
Thanks for telling me what song that was, because I didn't know the name.
You're welcome.
You mentioned the Pixar lady having a resemblance to your girlfriend. I went, oh, that one.
I really like Ninja Sex Party, and their new album, from what I've heard so far, has been really fun and good. And Twerp also released a new album that was very good.
What's that other? It's either a Twerp song or a Ninja Sex Party song that you showed me about the same time as Starlight Brigade.
Wrong. It is. What is the name of that band? The song is called Magnum Bullets.
Yes, Magnum Bullets.
Dan sings on it, but it's
Dan's. That's what I think of. But
I can't remember the name of the artist. But fucking Google it.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's also an amazing tune. Retrowave, man.
God, it's just
I dig all of its
It's a
facets.
comfy genre of music.
It's just. I'm glad it has a name now, so that I can enjoy it.
So that you can go.
So I
I
can
like
find
this. Internet, tell me where this is.
Because before, man, this was a fucking thing. I'm not going to get on this rant for too long, but like in the years leading up to retrowave blooming, there were songs I would put on like night driving mixes, and it was all stuff that was very
That was retrowave, but it didn't have a name yet.
Yeah, and it had that specific sound, and
Now it has a name.
now it has a fucking name, and I can find it easily.
That's super convenient.
Bless you humans for categorizing things. We're not doing favorite wrestling event of the year because we saw,
Maybe two.
other than a handful of AEW shows, the Royal Rumble, and that certainly doesn't qualify.
Fucking no, it doesn't.
So let's skip right along to our last category, which is self-indulgent, as is this entire podcast. Podcast of the year.
We both cheated.
Well, so this wasn't one of those years where we had a really delightful batshit one, or one that we walked away from feeling really good over the others. Most of the podcasts this year, I have walked away from feeling really good about.
Yeah. So we went more conceptual. This year, we undertook to pull back the curtain a bit and give you guys a glimpse into our personal lives. We both make an effort to categorize and catalog every movie we watch. And I've been doing it since 2013, and he's been doing it since 2012. And we list the movie, we list a quote we like, and we put up a picture we like. And we do this on our private social medias. Don't go looking for us. And so we went through, and as a podcast, or in most cases up until recently when I don't watch movies anymore, a couple podcasts each, went through and gave you guys a summary of every movie we've watched since 2012 for you and 2013 for me.
This was your idea to put up on the screen, into your ears, and I think it's been fun. It's been fun to do little mini reviews of movies and just talk about media we've seen.
Not get stuck into the weeds too much on any one movie,
Yeah.
and just sort of go through and take a trip down the last decade of feature film, at least what we've seen.
It's interesting as well because, like, you know, you and I have been friends for a very long time, and when we became friends, we were both young enough that we were shitheads.
We're still shitheads.
We still are, but, like, we're calmer shitheads now. But, you know, we'd come to, you know, lock horns over a couple of things, you know, oh, no, I'm right, oh, you can't say that from an objective opinion. Whatever dumb shit. Now we can look back at those films and be like, oh, this is how I feel about this. And have a brief but intelligent discussion about these things instead of just arguing like nerds on a non-existent internet.
No thanks. I'm not that person anymore, and I'm really glad about it.
Yep, it's been fun.
It was super fun. It's my official apology for TV Tropes Roulette.
The Reddit one is good too, though. We just haven't needed to pull it up.
No, that's a great concept.
Yeah.
We just haven't needed it. Mm-hmm. It's a good year for podcasts, if nothing else.
If you guys want, if you're still here, let us know in the comments what your awards are. That's kind of neat, huh? We've never done that before.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's much else to cover from 2020.
This is the part where, like, humorously, we say, fuck this fucking year, toiletflush.wav. It was bad, but I feel better having gone through it, and a lot of good things did happen to me amidst the shitty things. So
This was just a historically awful year. But at the end of the day, like I was already a shut-in, it wasn't that bad.
This is where I would say the lines that end the podcast, but that's not my fucking job.
Hell no. Everything's better when nerds talk about it.